learning-centered methodology. So now we will discuss the first point is about the second language learning is the developmental process. Well, students use their existing knowledge to produce and to new the new information. So here, the teacher need to help the student to strengthen their previously known to understanding with supporting theories. And then the second point is about language learning is an active process. In learning process, we not only to know the knowledge, but student also need to use that knowledge to make student active. There is 2 points that we need to consider about the language learning is an active process is about we need to know the psychomotor activity. See, psychomotor activity is like a domain which includes movement behavior and physical coordination, motoric skills, and physical abilities of a person. The second one is about we need to know about the language processing activity. Language processing activity is a collection of various information that obtained from the existence of knowledge. Okay, the third point is about language learning is decision of making process. As we know that in language learning, we must be willing to make decisions and accept the risk. And also, we need to accept the mistakes that will be accepted for the learning process itself. Next is about language learning is not just a matter of linguistic knowledge. In a language learning, students often experience a mismatch between the concept in their head and also between their understanding of linguistic itself. So, in many cases in ESP, that explain that students sometimes become expert in certain subjects, but they are weak in understanding the language, like that. And then the fifth point is about language learning is not the learner's first experience with language. Why? Because actually, we as a second language learner are not the first thing for us. Because basically, we have been able to communicate in language, but we don't know something such as a specific forms, words, or concept what we call it of a target language. And then the sixth point is learning is an emotional experience because in learning the language we need to in learning the language we need to build a positive atmosphere and also build an energy so that the emotion that are created are also positive. The seventh point is about language learning is to a large extent incidental. Why? Because in learning language, we are not required to examine the difficulties in learning the language. So to be able to we have to be able to understand it because we usually learning a language. It can be done accidentally or unconsciously. Okay, the last point is about language learning is not systematic. Why? Because learning is not something that can be arranged systematically. However, learning must start with the internal movement of the system from oneself. So I think that's all the explanation about my material. The next material will be delivered by my partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Disla. I will explain the next material, but before I explain my material, this is the part of modelism that will be presented at the end of this presentation because one of our member didn't come now. So this is the analysis of the model lessons. This model lesson is put into practice the principle outlined at the start or at the beginning of this chapter. And it has been found a number of simple techniques which can be applied to almost any lesson. So the first one, uh, in analysis, please. the PowerPoint in analysis. Next slide. Next. Next. Until the analysis. Ah, thank you. So the first one is gaps. This the if everything is certain and now there is no need to think. So learning demands thinking. So that gaps create that demand. And there are many types of gaps which can be exploited. The first one is information gaps. Most teachers already are familiar with this type of activities. It is that one learner has some information and another doesn't. So there is a need to communicate and share the knowledge. The second is media gaps. This is the information is available in one medium and needs to be transferred to another medium. For the example, like reading, making notes, discussing using notes, or completing gap text. Third is reasoning gaps. It is there are clues and pieces of evidence, but the answer needs to be extrapolated. So working out what the discourse is all about in lesson, it is a good example. In lesson one is a good example of this in model lesson one. And then there is memory gaps. That is, the learner have received some information at one stage of the lessons. Now they must use their memories to reconstruct it. Reconstructing of half the dialogue in model lesson 3 is exploit this kind of gap. And then there is jigsaw gaps. All the parts are there, but they need to be put together to form a complete unit. And then there is opinion gaps. Like the question comes out like what is important, what is not, and what is relevant. And the next is certainty gaps, the last one. That is what is definitely known, what can be proposed, and what can be definitely known. And all of these gaps, there are the holes and the missing bits that sees the mind and trigger of the thinking process. The second one is variety. It is the spice of learning. In order to get the repetition necessary to help learning, there must be a variety to keep the mind alert. So variety can be achieved in a number of ways. The first one is variety of mediums such as text, tape, pictures, and speech. And then there is variety of classroom organization that is including the whole class, pair, individual, and uh, I'm sorry, individual and ah, individual and pair of the the student.
You can turn off camera ini.
Sorry for the disturbing.
Please continue.
Yeah. From variety of classroom organization that I explained before, it is the whole class, pair, individual, and also the groups of the students. And then the next is variety of exercise. It is including the activity or task. And then there is variety of skills such as reading, listening, writing, speaking, and also graphic skills. And also there is variety of topic, variety of focus, which focus on accuracy, fluency, discourse, structure, and pronunciation. The third one is prediction. Prediction is a matter of using an existing knowledge of a pattern or system in order to anticipate what is likely in a novel situation. So there are such a types of prediction here. The first one is to build learner confidence by making them aware of their potential knowledge and how much they really know about language. And then there is it will be enable the teacher to discover where the gaps in knowledge so that teaching can be made more relevant to the needs. And then it
could activate the learner's mind and prepare it for learning. And the last one, it gives students an ego investment. When people make prediction, they are investing part of their self-esteem in their decision and choices. They are putting their ego on the line and taking risks. And the fourth is enjoyment. Enjoyment is just an added extra and an unnecessary frill because it is the same plus all of ways of engaging the learner's mind. And there is the number five is an integrated methodology. It is using range of skills that greatly increases the ranges of activities possible in the classroom because they will make it easier to achieve a high degree of recycling and reinforcement while also maintaining the learner's interest. The next slide please. The next slide. The sixth is coherence. In the activities learning is also should be clear where a lesson is going. Each stage should build on previous stages and lead naturally into the following stages. So it's step by step. And the seventh, there is preparation. Lesson preparation is normally interpreted as the teacher planning the stage of the lesson. But as well as preparing the teacher to teach, we should also be preparing the learners to learn. So it will be noticeable in the mood lesson that the preparation for an activity forms the greater part of the lessons. Eight, there is involvement. Learner needs to be involved both cognitively and emotionally in the lesson because we have set out already some of the way in which learners that can be involved, such as prediction and variety. So next slide, please. No. Still in number nine, I mean, sorry. It's creativity. Language is dynamic. Lesson should reflect these activities. Oh, I think, oh yeah. Hmm, where is it? Oh yeah. Yes. Ah, so creativity is the activity that should allow for different possible answer because student will have their own opinion. They will have their way of thinking. So creativity in classroom can be used. It can be needed in these activities. And then the next is atmosphere. It is the relationship between teacher and student. It can be recognized that effective learning depend on heavily on intangible factors such as this factor. And the cultivation of a cooperative social climate within the classroom is very important. This is particularly the case for English second English special purposes, where there are often other factors militating against a good atmosphere as a teacher. The next slide, please. So that's all from the analysis of all of the model lessons. So the conclusion is there is nothing specific about English purposes, the specific purposes methodology, because the classroom skill and techniques in general English teaching can also be usefully employed in this ESP classroom. And then what happened in the classroom is not just an afterthought to be crafted on to read materials and syllabus. These activities in the classroom should be feedback to other stages in the course design. So that's all my explanation. The next explanation will be presented by my friends. Thank you.
Okay, the next material is about evaluation. The first level of evaluation is learner assessment. As with any language, first there is need to assess student performance at strategic points in the course, for example, at the beginning and at the end. But this assessment takes on a greatest importance in ESP because ESP is concerned with the ability to perform particular communicative tasks. The facility to assess proficiency is therefore central to the whole concept of ESP. the result of this kind of evaluation. For example, enable sponsor, teacher, and learner to decide whether and how much language tuition is required. In ESP, there are three basic types of assessment. The first one is placement test, achievement test, and proficiency test. The aim of the placement test is to determine the learner state of knowledge before the ESP course begin. In so doing, it should indicate firstly whether the learner need to course at all, and secondly, should a need be indicate what from the course should take. The placement test is, therefore, in the first instance, proficiency test. If a learner is already proficient in the skill required, no further tuition is required. In its second function, the placement test is diagnostic, indicating how far and what ways the learner falls short of the proficiency level. In this respect, the test has a formative value in that the test result will be used in forming the nature and content of the ESP course that the learner will take. The good placement test should also reveal positive factor. It should show not just what the learner lacks, but also what potential of learning can be exploited in the ESP course. Okay, the second one is achievement test. This kind of test is the least problematic. Since it's usually internal to the course, it does not have to conform to external influences, but rather reflect the nature and content of the course itself. Elderson and Hoff 1981. The achievement test is, however, the kind of test the ESP teacher is most likely to have to construct. In constructing a good ESP achievement test, you should follow the same basic principles as you would for constructing any test. For example, test what you can reasonably assume the learners have learned. This is not necessarily the same as what you have taught. And then second is your test should test what you actually want it to test. Don't, for example, make a test of reading ability dependent on the ability to write. A learner may well be able to read and understand something, but unable to put the ideas down in writing. And then avoid bias in the test. Don't, for example, write test items which demand specialist subject knowledge or culture knowledge with any kind of language test, but it is probably apparent in ESP test, which may often involve the use of specialist content, technical, commercial, medical, and so on. The important point is that getting the concert answer should not depend on special subject knowledge outside the material used in the text. And the last one is proficiency test. This assess whether or not the student can cope with the demand of a particular situation. In the introduction to their guide to English, Davids and West 1984 identified the primary purpose of language testing in the 80s as proficiency testing designed to assess whether candidates will be able to perform the language tasks required of them. Such tests, say, are primarily criterion reference. In other words, the candidate's ability is assessed according to how far it matches certain criteria judged to be essential for proficiency in a particular task. With criterion referencing, there is no pass or fail distinction, but rather a scale of degrees of proficiency in the task. And proficiency tests for specific purpose should therefore be able to give a reliable indication of whether a candidate is proficient enough to carry out the task that will be required. Such tests also have high validity in that they look as if they are reliable indicators. I think that's all about my material. The next material will be delivered by my friend.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation about evaluation of part A. And then we go to the second part of evaluation, that is course evaluation. Um, According to the Tom and Allen in 1987, ESP course exists to satisfy a particular educational need. Evaluation helps to show how well the course is actually fulfilling the need. There are actually two characteristics. The first one is evaluating ESP course helps to establish whether it is meeting its aims or not. And then the second one is about course evaluation also plays a useful social role by showing of various parties involved, such as teachers, learners, sponsors, and etc. Because their views are really important. Um, Course evaluation is the second part of the evaluation of the ESP course itself. This kind of evaluation helps to assess whether the course objectives are being met, just like the first characteristic, whether the course, in the other words, is doing what is designed to do. And then according to what is his name? Wait. According to Alderson and Walters in 1983, there are four main aspects about ESP course evaluation that need to be considered. The first one is what should be evaluated. How can ESP courses be evaluated? When, who should be involved in the evaluation, and also when or and how often should evaluation take place? Next page, please. When and how often should evaluation take place? According to the Tom and Allen in 1987, the most important times occur in these four lists. But actually, it is difficult to prescribe how often course evaluation should be done, because all sensitive and responsive teaching will include this as a continuing feature anyway. So this list below is taken by Tom and Allen experience in before making this book. The most important time occurs, they said that in the first week of the course. The tone established here will probably have a greater overall effect on the success of the course. That what occurs what occurs later, since the initial impression are very often more enduring than later ones. And then at regular intervals throughout the course, at the end of the course, and also after the course if possible. This is potentially the most valuable, since the learners will be in a position to judge how well the course prepared them for a target situation they are now in. Because if you wanna say something, you need to be experienced at it, and you need to have the feeling of it. Next page, please. How can ESP courses can be evaluated? In the theory, there are very many ways in which the ESP courses can be evaluated, ranging from stimulation and to suggestion boxes. However, in the practice, most ESP courses are evaluated using one or more of the following techniques. The first one is as results, questionnaires, discussions, interviews, informal means such as unsolicited comments, casual chats, and etc. which techniques that you use will depend on what suits your teaching situation best. That's what Tom and Ellen said in 1987 in his book. That it needs to be stressed that gathering the evaluation information is only the first stage in the process. The information must next be collected, and if it is extensive, and then summarized. Next page, please. What should be involved in the evaluation? Sorry, this is type mistype. This is should be who should be involved in the evaluation. So the extent of involvement of any group will vary, but it is likely in the practice that the bodies most closely concerned will be the ESP teaching institution, the ESP teacher, the learners, and the course sponsors. And also the former student can also provide useful information, because the former student have already tried and experienced about what ESP courses they have done in the process before. And then it is important to get representative cross section of views to take them proper into account. With learners, it can be difficult to get feedback, which is an expression of their real views, because pupils is a student often reluctant to criticize authority. It is, let's say, the student often kind of exclamation point scared of their authority. And then orientation exercises can be used to get learners accustomed or familiar to expressing their views honestly and candidly. Although it must be said that an opening and trusting relationship between the teacher and the students is the best basis for promoting frank and useful feedback. Next page, please. So after all the explanation that I have explained before, what should be evaluated in this case? So shortly, everything of significance should be evaluated. But these two most important thing is that the first one is your ability to collect information and your ability to use that information once it has been collected. ESP courses in learning center approach is to meet two main needs. The first one is their needs as language learner, and this second one is their needs as language user. So what should be evaluated is, according to Tom and Ellen in 1987, is the course fulfilling the learner's language learning and using needs? That's what should be evaluated. So I think that's all after my explanation. Is Suki here? I'm sorry, sir, but I think Suki is not yet here. I don't know. I have already tried to contact him, but not an answer.
Who? So
His name is Muhammad Suki.
Muhammad Suki. Okay, right, okay. Well, just go on with the question and answer session now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Those are our explanation about methodology and evaluation. Any question, guys? It is okay to ask a question in the chat box.
May I first ask
Sure.
questions? So my question is, I hear some when, especially during these explanations, that mention in several times about course sponsors. So here, what is means exactly about what is mean actually course sponsor it is? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Any other question, guys?
Kalau nggak nge-share PPT.
Any other question, guys?
Maybe you can answer the question if you are ready to answer while waiting for the next question.
Okay. I try to answer Dimas' question, right? So basically, sponsor is not literally sponsor. Sponsor in this term, according to Minnesota Board of Peace Officer Standards, sponsor means a school, agency, individual, or organization that receive authority. That means they have exclamation point power from the board to provide approved courses. So they have ability. The sponsor is the one that have ability to approve and provide the courses to education credit. So the sponsor basically can be a school or individual, organization, and an agency. Does it answer your question, Dimas?
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thanks, Vicky, for your explanation about this.
Not a big problem. Thank you for that. Any other question?
Maybe I would like to ask you a question though. Yeah, is that all right?
It's a great thing, sir. Sure
No,
enough.
I mean, yeah. In your opinion, why evaluation is needed in the process of learning? Yeah, why evaluation is needed?
Is it one representative of as a whole group, sir?
What do you mean?
That means you ask us as a whole or just one by one?
No, I asked you as a whole, as a group presentation. Yeah, I mean, you can answer the question first, and then some other members of the presenter will add your explanation, or anyone in your group would like to answer the questions. Okay, is that clear?
Okay. It's
Mhm.
pretty clear. Thank you, sir.
Can I answer the question? because why evaluation should be do, right?
Yeah, please
Yeah,
continue.
I think that is because it is the way to testing student understanding, like in their whole activities that already they did, they are they understand all of those activities, or they just doesn't have like kayak kurang tangkep gitu. That's why evaluated should be needed in the learning process to testing the understanding of student. That is my opinion. Thank you.
So in your opinion, evaluation is needed because it actually tests, yeah, the understanding of the students, right?
Yes, Pak.
Yeah, okay. In general, I can accept that. Now, I have further questions. This is a very general question. It may you may relate it to SP or general, yeah, to general course, yeah. Um, in doing evaluation, there are three types of evaluation, if I'm not mistaken, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. The first one we call it assessment. Second one we call it task. The third one we call it assessment, test, and yeah. I mean, yeah, assessment and test. What are the difference among between the assessment and test? What makes them different? Are they do you know the differences?
I think the test is part of assessment because evaluation in this book said the only two of them. The test is part of assessment.
Okay, the test is part of assessment. So what is assessment actually?
Oh, assessment. I think that is the part to the tools to evaluating someone or evaluating the students about their understanding, sir. That is assessment to evaluating.
How about test? Does it I mean, is it to evaluate the student understanding too? I know. I mean, like, your answer is correct. Yeah, I mean, your answer is not wrong. I can understand that. Like, test is part of assessment, but what is the clear cut between assessment and test? I would like you to give me or the other member of the class the clear cut between assessment and a test, or in a real situation.
Uh, I think the assessment is the evaluation. Meanwhile, the test is the procedure on the assessment on this assessment. That is the procedure how to uh, grading it.
Okay, let's say it's correct. Any other member from the group would like to add her explanations, or the other students, yeah, who who knows? I believe you have got this material, yeah, when you are studying about language assessment, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Guys, don't be afraid if you make a mistake. Everyone makes mistake, yeah. Just say what you have in your had? I mean, what comes to your mind when you are asked about assessment and tests? What makes them different? Do not be afraid of what we call it. Of saying something which is not true, because we are all here learning. Yeah, we are all here learning.
Uh, to add some little bit explanation about Annie's answers, she said that test is um, something to basically something that needs to be graded, and then assessment is uh, I think assessment is the purpose of assessment is basically to know the student progress, while the test is to understand, not understand, to find out the student understanding as a whole into one unit, not a process. I think that's also.
Okay.
So in a simple way, assessment is the process, and the test is the final result.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So um correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, guys. Yeah, because based on what I have, I'm not testing you. This is because I would like to give you more information. Yeah, I'm not testing the presenters by asking, but I have like an intention to give you further information about it later on. Uh, what, what we call assessment is actually what we call test usually, yeah, in the beginning of the course or in the end of the course with with uh with question. For example, you give the questions, and then you administer the question. That's a test. I mean, you are going to measure the student's level understanding, yeah, of the course. For example, that is a test. But when you do the assessment, you can do assessment anytime. You can do the assessment not only at the beginning, not only at the end, but also in the middle, during the process of learning. This is we call assessment. Assessment is not only what we call it, from the understanding of the lesson, but assessment can be also from the three factors of learning, like affective, psychomotoric, and also cognitive. Yeah, this is we call it assessment. So mostly tests only focus on the cognitive side. Yeah, tests mostly focus on the cognitive side. Yeah, of the student, but assessment embraced, yeah, assessment embraced the whole aspect of learning, not only cognitive but also affective and also psychomotoric. Is it clear, guys?
It's pretty clear for me,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
For that.
yeah, maybe we uh the lecture or the teacher will not have the test for the student affective, for example, factors, but they can assess, yeah, and that it also becomes what we call it, a factor that influence the total score at the end, yeah, the total score at the end, right? If you do the test, it only measures the cognitive area of the student, yeah. This is what I know, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong later on, yeah? If you got more information about it, and then you get the sources, and then you also have the argument, yeah, a valid argument about it, and then you can rebuttal my my ideas, yeah, or my understanding, yeah. uh that's what I heard, that's what I learned, and then that's what I've known. Okay. Okay, is there any other question from the other group, the other member of the students?
Yeah. Actually, Kevin asked a question in the
Yeah.
chat box, sir.
You may answer the question now.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, here I will try to answer Kevin's questions. Wait. Kevin said, as that you have said that an evaluation can be done after the course if it possible. Why do you say it if it possible? I believe evaluation if oftenly done after the course so that the next time we teach, we have an improvement learning way. So, I personally and my partner believe that if we want to do some evaluation, we need to do it. Why we need to do it in the end? Because we want to do evaluation as a whole, to measure the learning as a whole, not in a part. So I mean like kita mengadakan evaluasi itu untuk measure-nya secara keseluruhan. Jadi bukan per part atau per subbab. So that's why it happened in the end. I think that's all my explanation. Maybe my partner can add another explanation.
Well, actually, the evaluation itself is as the PowerPoint mentioned that if possible, as you said, um, the evaluation itself actually is to find out all the problems that the students or sponsors or anything faced during the time. So basically, the evaluation can be done after the course. Is the first one is to find out the what are they are looking for in the evaluation, and then why is it if possible, because in the end we need to find out the data, all the data that I've already collected, not from the tidak mencari file-file data kumpulan dari satu-satu subbab saja. Jadi bisa jadi sebagai as a whole. Itu pendapat kami. Tetapi bisa saja misalnya setiap after one material to another do an evaluation. But I think that's more a little bit complicated since each of the subbab, masing-masing subbab have a different memiliki tingkat kesulitan yang berbeda. Mungkin begitu sih. Apa sudah menjawab? Kevin, is that okay? Thank you for your question, Kevin. Sir, do we have another question or? Oh,
I don't know if you have. I mean, if your friend would like to ask the question, just accept this, and then. But if no, yeah, we will end the meeting though. Yeah.
Actually, there is no question in that chat box. Only Kevin asked the question.
Okay. Now, I would like, no, can you re-explain about proficiency test one more time? What is proficiency test? And then can you give the example of proficiency test? Is it, I mean, I mean, does proficiency test belong to ESP or not? This is the last question from me. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I will try to answer your question about proficiency test. What is proficiency test? Uh, a proficiency test is a comprehensive test to measure a learner's level of language that includes all aspects such as listening, speaking, reading, grammar, and writing. And where is it held? It is implemented in educational institutions, embassies, government office, and companies. And then, what is it for? One of the requirements in many companies for employees who are sent to attend seminars, course, or training using English as the language. So the result is accurate and highly reliable. For example, TOEFL and IELTS.
Okay, the TOEFL and IELTS are the, what we call it, are the example of proficiency test. The last question, is proficiency test an ESP or not?
I think yes, sir.
Why is it yes?
Can I answer it, sir? I think it's also yes because it's also evaluating the understanding, like the knowledge that we have, like speaking, reading, writing, and all of the school, all the skills. It looks like assessment.
Okay, what is the principle of SP, guys? not for the group, but for all of the students. What is the principle of ESP when we learn in the first meeting? Basically, ESP needs, ESP should meet two main needs of the learner, The first one is the need of language learners, and the second one is the need as language users, So, one of the example of ESP, for example, if you develop a material, if you develop biology material for biology students, for example, that is that what ESP, But how about TOEFL test? How about IELTS test? I mean, if you want to go to UK, let's say, you should take TOEFL test. You should take IELTS test. I mean, uh, for any students. For example, even if you want to enroll the nursing, what we call it, faculty, let's say, the nursing school, let's say, you still have to take the IELTS test. If you want to enroll, if you want to register education, for example, school of education, for example, you still take the same IELTS test. If you what we call it, if you try to be logical, is proficiency tests, an ESP? Okay, if you cannot answer this, and then if you cannot what we call it, if you cannot give like full, what we call it, a full an understandable, a comprehensible and understandable reasons, I would like to give you this as your group assignment, as your group assignment. The question is very simple actually. Is proficiency tests, for example, IELTS and TOEFL, an ESP or not? Give the logical answer, give the logical reason of your answer. If you say yes, why? If you say no, why? For your group assignment. Is that clear, guys?
It's pretty clear, actually, sir.
Yeah. I give you the clue in the beginning. I give you the clue in the beginning. Now I would like you to make this as your assignment. Next week we are going in the beginning, before we have like the materials, before we do the presentation, we are going to discuss it for a bit. What is it? Is it an ESP or not? Why is it an ESP? Why it is not an ESP? Next week, I know the answer already. I know it, but I would like you to learn more, to read more about it. To learn and read more about it. Okay. It is a group assignment, not individual assignment. That's what I asked for. And one of the presenter hasn't come today, Hamatsuki, Okay, I think that's all. You can close this meeting.
Okay. Thank you for all your questions, especially Dimas and Kevin. And thank you very much, sir, for your question and very much your explanation. And then that's all that about our presentation. Hopefully you guys understand about it. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, welcome, salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you next week, guys. Have a good